Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Worcester City Council, and it's being held this Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, because of the celebration of President's Day yesterday. We are in council chambers and continue to live stream on YouTube. It's after 7:30 p.m. Next regularly scheduled meeting will be Monday, March 7, 2022. And Mr. Paulo, as clerk of council, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cavan.
Here.
Ms. Knappich.
Present.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Reynolds.
Here.
Mr. Sanders.
Here.
Mr. Silvestri.
Here.
And Ms. Warden.
Here.
Hey, we do have a quorum, and the agenda will remain as presented. And at this time, I ask you to stand and join city council members in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the first item we need to do is approve the minutes of February 7, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Silvestri to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The minutes of February 7, 2022 are approved. Communications from the mayor. Mayor, you're probably tired of speaking since you spent an hour giving us the annual State of the City address. But again, welcome. Thank you for a very pleasant stroll down memory lane with a little view towards the future. So appreciate the time and you and your staff putting together a nice presentation. So
Thank you very much,
I
President
welcome
Biden.
you and yield the floor.
Well, as in years past, I think I've talked enough. I've run out of things to say, and so I really don't have much to report other than what we've already talked about tonight. I'm able to answer any questions anyone might have, either now or miscellaneous, whatever would work. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Buitendijk, and look forward to the meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We don't have any petitions, and we have one person who has signed up to speak on the agenda item. If you want to come and take your stand at the lectern, state your name, Ms. Houston, and your address, please.
I have questions. Is this going to be 2 minutes and I'm done? Because I will,
Not if it's on the agenda.
What?
Not if it's on an agenda item.
First of all, I just want to say that I support this whole issue, but I also feel like I need to understand it. Because if I don't understand it and someone asks a question, I want to be able to know what I'm talking about. And it's interesting to me that when I spoke with, or sent a message to Bob Reynolds, he said the schools weren't involved and stopped saying that. Well, the schools are clearly involved. And so let me just ask a couple of questions. I figured out what the TIF was. I have a question. Does that mean that at another time and another development, this same TIF will work? In other words, it's going to be done with the the sewer and things like that. Now, it also says something about it improves for other developments. So is this same piece of legislation about TIF also can be used for another development somewhere else in the city? Does that
Well,
make sense?
yes, it can. It's kind of the paradigm for which, for any other areas that
Okay.
would be designated, what we
Okay.
would use.
And that answers one of the questions. The other one, and I think Scott just answered me, the people who live in the area will not increase their taxes, just the people who are building in this new allotment will be taxed for the property?
Well, there'll be property tax on the new improvements,
Right.
which would be new housing and stuff.
Okay,
If
so.
there's a house already there, it does not change their tax.
Yeah, there won't be
Okay.
any assessments
Okay.
against them.
Fine, because that's the biggest thing a lot of people have been asking. Then I need, one more time, an understanding of what the schools are giving up or getting, because that's a big thing that the people are asking. So Scott explained it a little bit, but could somebody just tell me
Mr.
what the
President,
school is giving or giving up?
sure.
Jonathan, you explained it to me
Well,
pretty well.
Mr. Reynolds was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, Ms. Houston, my initial comment to you was, you asked if the school district was giving up land, and I said the school is not giving up land.
Well, you didn't say it nicely, Bob. It was a very nasty response, but go ahead.
I'll read the response, is that okay?
No, just go ahead
Well,
and
I'll share it
tell
with
me-
council.
Tell me what the TIF
Okay.
will do for the schools.
Directly, the school's going to benefit, so aside from the financial benefit, the infrastructure improvements that are going to be paid through the TIF are the extension of sewer services to that area of town and the improvement to the road system there. The roundabouts at both Oak Hill and Milltown and Oak Hill and Oldman Road. The financial impact, the new tax revenue that's generated from the construction, 77% of your tax dollar locally goes to the schools. And of that 77%, the schools are giving up, I believe it's 75% of the tax, of that additional tax dollar. So the school is giving up a portion of that revenue stream. But that's a revenue stream that doesn't exist without this project. So, sure, without the TIF, they'd get 100% of the tax bills of that
Right.
property. But for the development that we're talking about, just the one that involves the 97 units, I believe it is, that right now is generating about the same amount of tax revenue as one house in town.
Right, on that
So,
property.
and they're not giving up that tax revenue, they're giving up a portion of the tax revenue that's going to be created by this that wouldn't exist but for the fact that this project is going through. Because without the extension of sewer to that area, there would not be any development there. So the school is giving up a portion of the newly created revenue. The city is giving up their share of the newly created revenue. The county is giving up their share of the newly created revenue from this. And I believe for both the city and the county, they're giving up 100% of the newly created revenue, and that's going into this fund. And from this fund, it's going to be used to repay the city for the cost. The $8.6 million is going to go towards the creation of these infrastructure projects.
So when the school is giving up the percentage that they, or the amount that they would get from these houses or whatever, that's not actual money they're handing you. They're just not going to get that given to them from the taxes.
Correct.
Okay.
It diverts the tax revenues that would otherwise go to the school district's general fund and puts it into this TIF.
Okay,
You know, think about a stream of revenue, and from this TIF, the city's going to get repaid for the improvements that are described in the TIF.
and when will they get, somebody said something about 27 years. What is that?
Well, it's all a function of how much development there is. So, you know, it's a matter of how long it takes to repay back the city for the improvements that are there. If there's no development that's done, it'll never get paid back.
Okay.
The more development, the faster the payback.
Okay, and so there, what we're saying is besides this development that we're talking about, there's plans to do other developments in other parts of the city under this TIF So the school would still have to,
Now, Linda, what he's talking about, there's vacant land that is currently not slated for any development included in this TIF. If you were to look at the map, there's some property that's vacant that could be developed. With the improvements of the city sewer and roadway improvements, we think those lands are now economically feasible to be developed. Mr. Craycraft has some property up there that's included in this TIF. That's not included in the payback period of 29 years or whatever. But if those properties are developed, do those property taxes go up with more houses?
Okay, is
It'll
his-
shorten the payback period.
is his land involved in this?
Yes, it is.
Right next to the Noble's land?
Correct. Now, Mr. Noble's land is not part of the,
Right, I understand, I understand that.
And I should point out that in essence, the schools go benefit because there's going to be a sewer improvement that's going to enhance land that the school already owns
understand
but is not built
I
upon.
understand, but I just needed a better understanding. And then on the list of the schedule of events, I just have some questions. What property owners have to be told within 30 days? In other words, there are all these things, you know, like if I lived next door to this was going up, I would get a letter knowing that, you know, so this whole list that's here, county has to be notified, school district. Now, if the school district's already approved this, why are we sending these letters to them before? That's what I'm not understanding. These dates are long gone.
The school district has not acted on this.
Okay, thank you. But someone's talked to them, so they've already, we know that they've approved, they will approve this.
They're a public board, so until they actually act, nobody knows anything for sure.
Okay, well, thanks.
And I should point out, until this is passed, it's, all that's, you know, a big unknown.
But till the one today is passed?
Well, we're voting, probably voting on it today.
Right.
It hasn't been passed yet, so there's nothing for the school to act upon.
Okay. But after this is voted on, that's why these letters are going out to these people, that they can come here and find out. Do you follow what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, this whole list?
I think Mr. Millay wanted to respond.
Okay.
If
Huh?
Did you want to respond to Ms.?
Sure, I'll just share that, good evening, Mr. Stitt, I'm Jonathan Millay, Development Coordinator for the City of Worcester. With the list that you're referencing, the whole document is a plan, and TIF involves the cooperation of multiple governments, in this case being the school, the county, the city of Worcester. And so if this plan is approved, what you see on the list there is just the next steps of how the community may go about in creating a
Right, yeah.
partnership
Okay.
which would affect a TIF. Thank you very much. But in effect,
I heard you. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, but we're also taping it, so
Well,
sometimes
okay.
it doesn't pick up very well.
Mr. Millay, we're just approving the schedule at this point. The ordinance to approve the actual TIF, once we get agreement from those parties, is not coming until sometime in the spring. Is that correct?
correct, this is just
Just the schedule.
This is just a estimated, very rough estimated,
Right. Just
earliest could happen
Move the ball
schedule.
forward. It's not, we're not voting to approve a TIF tonight. We're just approving the schedule.
Correct, and then the property owners you mentioned.
The schedule is long gone, just so you know. February 18th, 25th isn't, but, you know, days. Anyway, I appreciate your giving me the time. I do want to just mention that after last meeting, I had absolutely no idea what this was all about. And if I hadn't called Jen, I wouldn't even know where the development was going to be if this all gets passed. I had no idea, and I think that probably that kind of thing would have helped me, certainly, to know that it wasn't the before thing. So thank you for your, you know, I was once sitting where you're sitting, and I still do my homework. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
If I can sit down.
All right, we are moving now to the one item on unfinished business, which is the second reading of ordinance number 2022-02 will be presented by Mr. Reynolds. But before I turn it over to Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Paulo, would you please read the title?
Ordinance number 2022-02, adopting the Oak Hill Tax Incremental Financing Incentive District Economic Development Plan as a guide for future economic development and in support of a tax increment financing district and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Reynolds, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Beitendijk. We had a pretty extensive discussion of this at the last meeting. I know that this body has looked at TIFs before and are familiar with the concept, and we had both in the mayor's presentation and in the discussion before the meeting a pretty good overview of that as well. So I think we've beat this horse pretty well to death at this point, and I would make a motion that we suspend the rules to move this to third and final reading.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Reynolds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Mr. Paulo, would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and Cavan.
Yes.
The rules are suspended. I turn to you again, Mr. Reynolds.
Mr. President, I would move for the adoption of ordinance number 2022-02.
There's a motion to adopt by Mr. Reynolds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. We'll open it up to discussions or questions or comments by council.
Mr. Reynolds, is it just irony that ordinance number 2022-2 is passing on February 2nd?
I noticed that, too.
22nd of 20,
I was trying to get it to be a number 22.
yeah.
Couldn't think of 21 silly things to put in front of it.
Well done.
Yeah, and too bad the mayor gave a very succinct explanation of the TIF in his State of the City address, so I appreciate that, so. So seeing no further discussion, comments, et cetera, Mr. Paulo, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and Cavan.
No.
And ordinance number 2022-02 passes. Brings us to new business, ordinance number 2022-03. It will be presented by Mr. Reynolds. It is scheduled for 3 readings. Mr. Paulo, would you read the title of that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance to approve and adopt current replacement pages to the codified ordinances and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Reynolds, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, this is probably standard and customary for city council. Every year, other government bodies are out there passing laws and regulations, and we're forced to update our own to stay in compliance or in conformity with those. And there is a service that we subscribe to provide those updates, and they've provided it this year's updates, and I think there's 200 pages of them in all. And I'm sure that council has not yet had the chance to study all 200 pages yet. So I think we'll just leave this on first reading and give everybody the opportunity to do that.
All right, we'll conserve it has its first reading, but I would recommend the council come next meeting in preparation of passing it, because by then 2 months will have passed and we are not in compliance with catching up with the changes. Mainly, most of these end up in the criminal law in terms of changes, which our police department ends up, basically issuing citations. So.
And I don't mean to make light of them from the standpoint of you know, if somebody's got a question, or if you've got a constituent with a question about one of these, let me know, and I will be on the phone to Mr. Scavelli or Mr. Gibbons right away, and we'll get an explanation for you as far as what the change was, why it's there, and what it means. But
Yeah.
most of them are things that you'd look at and you'd go, not sure I see the need for that, but.
But just like many of the mandates that the state issues down, we don't have much choice in carving out our own exceptions to the law, so just a point of fact. So again, 2022-03 said ordinance has had its first reading. Next two resolutions are budgeted, so they will not require suspensions of the rules. They're both presented by Mr. Silvestri, so make a footnote there, no suspension of the rules. So if you would, Mr. Paulo, please read the title of resolution number 2022-09.
Resolution number 2022-09, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to purchase a camera truck and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Silvestri, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we've already talked about Google Maps tonight, so you might think something different when you say camera truck, but this has nothing to do with that. This is a camera truck purchase. It is a new 2022 Ford E450 truck with an EnviroSight sewer televising camera system to run camera through our sewer. Very important for making sure that we stay ahead of tree roots with our root treatment program and to check the overall quality of our sewer lines as we go. There's just no substitute for having video of that. So thank you for all of the, not just the current facts, but the history. You have some real skill in composing kind of somewhat poetic prose, I should say, that you interjected into that. So I did read it all, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for that. Thank you for the pictures. And although this may look like a pretty top-of-the-line office on wheels that you may want to take your boots off before you step up into, it is actually not the Cadillac. Our manager did tell me that they stopped short of the high-end equipment such as a video game controller and other things. But so it's very practical, very plain on the outside, very practical and useful, but it is high-quality equipment for our sewer division. And with that, I move for adoption.
Okay, motion to adopt by Mr. Silvestri. Any discussion? Despite the brilliant prose, unless you can make the camera work of looking at our sewers, I think a possible documentary Oscar is probably a long shot. I know. You have all the basis of a script. It might just take a little bit. Maybe Bryce can help you with crafting that. And
Heavy.
yeah, okay. Any further discussion?
I just out of curiosity, the image that we see on here has the EnviroSight logo on the box portion of the truck. Is that what it comes as, or will we have?
That's just their stock
Okay.
imagery that I used. We'll put our typical logo on.
City of Worcester.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, we won't do free advertisement. If we go that route, they're paying us.
Sure, yeah.
Well, unless they're willing to pay us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Seeing no further discussion.
I don't think I got a second.
Oh, you didn't get a second. I thought we did.
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich on the motion to adopt. Any other further discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
And Meyer.
Yes.
All right, resolution number 2022-09 passes. Well, maybe at the next State of the City address, you can have a little video documentary with a running commentary.
I'm gonna have to do like Kurt. I'm gonna have to show up with a new truck to him.
Well, that's right. You can maybe have a little maze that we can test our skills trying to run it, and you could say, imagine trying to do it underground. Yeah. All right. Resolution number 2022-10. It'll be presented by Mr. Silvestri. It is budgeted, but it does need to be read by Ms. DiPaolo if she would be so kind.
Resolution number 2022-10, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a professional services contract with Jones and Henry for design and construction services and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Silvestri, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this commentary and set of pictures is not near as exciting as the previous one, but this is necessary for the emergency reconstruction of one of our aeration chambers, Aeration Chamber 5, and we need to move forward on this. I appreciate all the work that Mr. Coy has done and his staff to identify the need here, and in order to be in compliance with Ohio EPA. The short story is this has to be done. So this is a contract to enter into we want to enter into a professional services contract to get this repaired, and VLR is a vertical loop reactor. There's a lot of technology here, there's a lot of background needed, and I do appreciate all the detail that is provided, and if there are any specific questions, Mr. Coy is here to answer those. With that, I would make the motion to adopt this evening.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Silvestri, and I'll entertain a second, please.
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Any discussion or questions for our budding director?
How long do you think this will keep us, this repair?
The direction that we're gonna go with this is something tried and true and industry standard. So what we put in will outlast, my career.
Okay.
The next, we're just going with extended aeration technology. We're gonna match it like they did back in 2014 with some other tanks and go that direction. We're not gonna be so cute with it.
Okay,
We're gonna go to a tried and true standards.
sounds good. Okay. No aftermarket stuff this time. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Silvestri?
Yes.
Warden?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Cavan?
Yes.
Knappich?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
And Sanders.
Yes.
All right, resolution number 2022-10 passes. I don't think anyone's signed up for the public version of miscellaneous. So we'll start out with Ms. Warden tonight.
I have nothing to add, thank you.
All right, Mr. Reynolds,
Nothing to add.
Mr. Cavan,
Nothing to add.
Ms. Knappich,
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Myers.
I wanted to thank the mayor and his staff. I thought the presentation this evening was very well done and thoughtful, and I appreciated your comments. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sanders,
After that, nothing to add.
and Mr. Silvestri, since you did all the heavy lifting tonight, we'll give you the last word.
I just also want to thank the mayor. Thank you for the members of the public that came. I always look forward to our State of the City address, and I think we're going in a really good direction. It's an exciting time to be a part of this council. Welcome again to the new members. We've had a lot of changes both in city staff and on council recently, so looking forward to moving forward. Thank you.
And I thank you, Mr.
Motion to
Silvestri,
adjourn.
for motioning to adjourn. Is there a second? Mr. Myers, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.